If you've got your best business ideas spread across 14 different journals, 8 different folders, and at least a pile of voice memos, then this video is probably for you. If you've got ADHD, you probably don't need me to tell you this, but your brain creates faster than we can usually capture or execute on ideas. So how do we make sure that we're not missing out on some of our best ideas without killing that vibe? So in this video, we're going to talk about why this happens. We're going to talk about what a creative container is, and then we're going to talk about how do you build your own, because your own is going to have to be very different and specific to you. I talk about this frequently, that everyone's experience with ADHD is slightly different. Yes, there are parameters that are the same for everyone, but we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different coexisting diagnoses. There are things that impact our ADHD experience, and so some things that work really well for one person may not work as well for another. So it's important that you understand how to build one that works for you, and that's what we'll talk about. So why exactly does this happen? Well, one thing we do know about the ADHD brain is that it fires at a very, very high rate. Ideas are populating all the time. In fact, we spend a little bit more time in this default mode network space, which is more of like the brainstorming, creative, free-flowing brain space, and so ideas are constantly populating. The downside to this is that a lot of times, because we have so many ideas, we end up missing out on writing them down so that they can actually be implemented, or we don't have enough structure so we can't get them implemented, which leads to all of these missed opportunities, scattered energy, and frustration. And I'm gonna be honest, that scattered energy thing, that's probably hitting most of us more than we want to admit, because it even hits me, and I've gotten really, really good at trying to keep myself focused. Well, at least pretty good. And while creative chaos can be really, really fun, it is also a momentum killer. So what exactly is a creative container? A creative container is a light touch system that allows you to catch, store, and then revisit your ideas without necessarily overthinking them. Now, a lot of times, our creative containers end up being those 14 different notebooks, 8 different folders, and a pile of voice memos. So how do you use that, like, leaning into what is actively available to you when you have that idea and that moment, and then putting it somewhere where it can be organized later? So my creative container is a Slack thread. I have a chat with myself that whenever I have ideas that I want to capture, I just go into that Slack thread, I send them to myself. The nice thing about this is I can do this when I'm sitting at my desk. I can do this when I am out and about because I have the Slack app on my phone. I can do this through voice memos. I can do it through text. I have a lot of different ways that I can capture those ideas and put them all in a single place. I have seen people do this with Google Docs, where they literally have a Google Doc titled, creative container. And because it's easy for them to access from their computer or from their phone, I usually recommend, if you're going to do this, make sure it's starred or make sure it's saved so it's really easy to find, like, within a couple of clicks. I've seen a lot of people also use their project management system like Notion or Trello or ClickUp, and they'll have literally a board that is just ideas. And whenever they get one, they go over there and they drop it in there. Now, again, the key here is you have to be using your project management folder. I've also seen a lot of people use project management software for this, but because they never log into it, they either go dump a bunch of stuff in there and never visit it again, or they never dump stuff in there. They just ended up having an empty creative container, which makes them feel worse. You could also have maybe one voice memo thread, or you could have a text line. Maybe you set up a Google Voice number that you text all of your ideas to because that's what's easiest for you, and you can send voice memos as well as text. So if that's what a creative container is, how do you actually build your own and find the one that is going to work for you? Well, first and foremost, ask yourself, where do my ideas land naturally? If your ideas are landing naturally in an actual physical notebook, then that may be where you need to start from. In fact, for years, I got those little moleskin ones, the really small journals that I would just tuck into my back pocket. I had one of those moleskin journals and a little pencil with me everywhere, and every time I got an idea, I jotted it down in there. This was years ago, and what I found was that ultimately it ended up becoming a bigger pain in the butt, because while I could flip through stuff, it still had to be transferred into somewhere that I could send it to someone to do. So as my team has grown, that's become less viable. But when it was just me, that was actually a really viable option, because I could jot ideas down in there, and then once a week I could go in and flip through, take the ideas that were worth pursuing and put them somewhere into a calendar or somewhere that I actually wanted to revisit with the best of ideas. Which really truly is the next step here. Once you have decided, this is where my ideas naturally land, I always have my phone with me so I can always go in and add them here, or I always have a notebook, or I always have this, I always have. Once you've decided where they go, now you need to set up how you're going to get them organized. So this may be once a week where you go into review and refine. This may be once a month, but either way, you want to set up a time when you are consistently going in, Or you want to hire someone who's going to go in at a consistent time. You may hire a VA and say, hey, once a month, I want you to go in through my ideas chat on Slack, and I want you to go ahead and just do me a favor. And the ones that are viable, or maybe they just copy all of them over into your project management software if you're using that, or into your calendar. But they just copy all the ideas over into somewhere where you can start processing through them and using them. Now, again, you can do this. You may want to put a reminder on your calendar to do this, or put a string around your finger if that's where you're at. But you need to have some sort of review and refine ritual, whether that is you or whether that is someone else. You might have a VA that you hire to go in, organize everything, and then you two sit down once a month because you'll show up to a meeting that is scheduled where they go through and you tell them what to do with each one, and then they go and distribute instructions to someone else to execute. Now, one quick tip for your creative container. Once you figured out where do my ideas land naturally and you started making an effort to put them all in the same place, once you figured out your review and refine strategy, you're also going to want to keep in mind that this is not time to organize as you are putting them in there. Your Slack channel is just a place to throw in random ideas. And yes, some of them may not make any sense later, and that's okay. It may come back to you or it may not. It's not the end of the world. But if you threw something in there that said frozen potato and you're I don't know what that was about, don't kill yourself trying to figure it out, and don't kill yourself trying to make sure you have detailed notes in your creative container. This is just a space to put your random ideas so that you can go back to it down the road. Keep in mind KISS. Keep it stupidly simple. The simpler you make this for yourself, the more likely you are to use this. You're not filling ideas, you're saving them from dying. You're not trying to organize them, plan them, or get them executed. You're just saving them to come back to them down the road, because you want to cultivate that creative side, that side of your brain that fires at a crazy pace. That's great. There's a lot of value in that. You just want to make sure you're not creating chaos and you're actually creating something that is worth holding on to. If you need a little bit of help turning your ideas into action, we talk about how to work with your brain every single week here on this channel. Would love to see you around.